Good evening. Thank you for all for coming. 7 o'clock, so we will get started. So we want to thank you for taking the time to come and attend the MD of Tabor AGM. We have lots going on, and so my speech was a lot longer than I had anticipated, but I know you're here to be able to ask questions, so I'm going to brief it up a little bit. But before we get started, a few logistical things. You pass the washrooms on your way in. In the event of an emergency, there is a muster point at the west end of the parking lot. This AGM is being recorded for those people who aren't here. So if you have questions, we would like you to use the mic if you're comfortable so that you can hear the recording. And at any point, you can ask a question. So it is my honor to share the municipality's updates and progress and have administration and council address any of your concerns and questions. Long before I was on council, I knew MD of Tabor residents care about their families, their community, and the land. The 6 people beside me are truly some of the most dedicated people you will meet. Their obligation to council is far more than being another level of government. They work hard to ensure the community is safe and prosperous for generations to come. Besides the 45 plus different council committees they serve on, they also serve their communities personally, whether it be 4-H, the community garden, and everything in between. So I'm honored to introduce the MD of Tabor Council, Division 5, Deputy Reeve John DeGroot, Division 2, Councillor John Dricado, Division 3, Councillor Brian Hildebrandt, Division 6, Councillor Murray Reynolds, Division 7, Councillor Chantal Clausen, and Division 1, Merrill Harris. So that was challenging to mix it all up, guys, thanks. So a heartfelt thanks goes out to our staff for their unwavering support and dedication to our municipality and for preparing this tonight. So a few things about the MD. So there's a landmass of 4,160 square kilometers with a population of 7,500 people. You can see from the people who are here, it's represented across the municipality, and we are proud of that. Agriculture is the backbone of our municipality and southern Alberta. We are feeding the world. Our municipality isn't strictly agriculture. Our hamlet population makes up 20% of our population. They have recreation, senior centers, halls, libraries, and house 3 of our fire departments. These hamlets are served by volunteers who either live in the hamlet or outside. They would not operate at the level they do without their dedication and commitment. So some of you are probably here tonight to talk about roads. We're good with that. We know how the roads are right now, but roads are our priority. We have 2,400 kilometers of roadway from gravel to hardtop, and it is a significant part of our budget. It's tough to be everywhere. So if you have an issue, you can call the MD office, use the service tracker, call your counselor. We'll do our best to try to make sure that those roads are safe, but we can't be everywhere. So many of you took part in the transportation study. That study is still underway. There's a few parts that they're working on. It will be presented to council, and then we'll be able to make some policy changes that will hopefully help as we progress. Right now, we have 2 public consultations that'll be happening soon. One is the land use bylaw. It's undergoing a complete overhaul. There are a few significant changes. Some of you might be aware just from communicating with councillors or if you've tuned into any of the meetings. The bylaw guides all the development regulations in the municipality. There will be dates set in the near future. The other public consultation that's happening right now is the land management policy. The MD of Tabor has 62,000 acres of ag land that is leased to MD residents. The meeting dates are set for these. They're June 11th, 12th, and 13th in various locations and times. So we have those dates available and times, so you're welcome to come to all or to one, but we really hope you will come and find out what we're trying to determine is the best practice for those lands. One of the main projects that occurred this year is a stormwater drainage project. We have 3 councillors who are on that committee, and Councillor Harris is a co-chair. So many of you may have had a disruption on Highway 36. We thank you for your patience. That phase of the project is near completion, and hopefully phase 2 will be going to bid in the fall. One of the other factors that is on everyone's mind, and especially the MD, is the ongoing and prevailing drought that we've seen. We ask all of our residents, as we will as the municipality, do our part. There is a water management plan that is being presented that will be let out to the public in the near future. Hopefully we're just going to get a monsoon rain, as someone just said to me, and that won't be an issue. But there will be information. And we already can see how dusty the roads are. Just be aware when you're traveling. We'll do our best to keep them maintained. So the ongoing drought not only creates a lot of stress, our agriculture alone is stressful. So as you're going through this time, as we get ready to seed, MD has the resources with the ag fieldmen. We also are tied into FCSS. If you or one of your neighbors are struggling, then please reach out to them. AgKnow, you might be familiar with it. KNOW is also another online resource for people who might be struggling. We ask you to reach out, call if you need help, reach out even to your counselor if you have a question, and they can refer you. So family farms not only grow the food for the world, but they're also community builders. In the MD of Taber, 23 outstanding farm families have been honored by the Calgary Stampede and the Bank of Montreal. These families built the MD of Taber. This year's award is presented to Riverview Ranch and T&T Pollination, David and Tammy Torrey. Their outstanding ag practices and community contributions have made a huge difference. We also recognized in 23 the Germania family from the Retlaw area for their contributions to being a century farm family. Moving along into our fire department, we have 83 volunteer firefighters who attended 260 calls in 2023. The volunteer chiefs and firefighters sacrificed their time to maintain our safety with 365 24/7 coverage. Their families' employers have also made a commitment to our safety, and for that, council is forever grateful. The fire department is always looking for volunteers. There's information back there on the program, and Chief Cote is in the back, and he would gladly answer your questions. The employers are a huge part to our volunteer fire department. Without their willingness to sacrifice the members to leave, we couldn't do it. So we are very grateful for them and their families. Also at the back, there's information on SCAR Notify. This is an information system that's available that you can get on your phone or your email. It gives you an update weekly what's happening, as well if there's an emergency in the MD, such as a road closure or a washout. You can also get updates on anything that's coming up as far as all the public consultations. So two other things that are here tonight that you may not have noticed when you came in. There's a brochures and box for nominations for Communities in Bloom. They are an amazing organization that has worked in the town of Taber and the MD of Taber to highlight and capitalize on all the good things that people are doing in their yards, whether environmental, beautification. So if you or you have a neighbor who has a beautiful yard, we asked you to put in a nomination, and they've asked us to plug that for them tonight. As well, tonight, Rural Crime Watch is in the entry. They are an organization that will always be looking for volunteers, but more so they want you to be a part of it so that if you see suspicious things going on in the area, there's a mechanism to report. They have an easy sign up that you can put a sign on your property or around your property. I don't know the fee, but the guys at the back will tell you. $25. Okay, it's $25 to be a member, and it's a great way to keep our municipality safe. When we have an incident that might be happening, our SCAR Notify also could be used for an emergency that the police ask us to include or the Rural Crime Watch. So before I turn it over to the CAO, Arliss, and his team, We want to make sure that you're aware that 2024, the Municipal District of Taber is celebrating 7 incredible decades of growth, agriculture, innovation, and economic development. 89 individuals have served on this council. Some of them are here in the room, and we appreciate the work that they've done. Our council, along with our predecessors, recognize that the 7 years of success is not because of council, not because of the MD of Taber, but because of you, the residents, who have sacrificed to make our community a great place. So we invite you to take part in our 70th anniversary celebrations. There'll be one on June 20th at the MD of Taber Park and one on June 27 at the Enchant Campground. We're going to highlight what's occurred in these 70 years. There's going to be things for children, an opportunity to visit, and just come together to recognize the good things that have happened in our municipality. So as we mark this 70th anniversary, let's celebrate our shared journey, look forward to the successes in agriculture, business, and families today and for generations. We will take questions now, or at the end we have a dedicated time, and our staff is going to provide updates on different programs. And I will now turn it over to Arliss. On the anniversary thing, they do have special swag bags to celebrate what's happening, and so that you can also embrace in the anniversary. Arliss? So for those who don't know, this is Mr. Arliss Croft. He's our CAO. He's served with us for 4 years and has been a guiding light for us, and it has been important that he has done a great deal of work as we have changed and progressed through our MD, and we really thank you, and we look forward to your presentation tonight.
Thank you, Reeve Mianega. Real quick, with respect to the presentation that administration has prepared, we've prepared a slideshow of a few topics. Time obviously wouldn't permit to address all topics pertinent to the MD. However, there's those opportunities for questions throughout the evening. But with respect to the presentation tonight, it really does highlight the team, the administrative and staff team of the MD. So my participation from the presentation perspective will be rather minimal. So before we transition into that, I just want to share and introduce the MD of Taber staff and regional and service partners that are here this evening to support the AGM. First off, we have our, and I'll just have them wave their hand. First off, we have our Director of Municipal Operations, Corey Green, at the back there. Most everybody, I believe, is at the back. But our Director of Community Services, Bryce Serena, and our Interim Director of Corporate Services, Robert Osmond. Our Manager of Lands Planning and Development, Brian Pierce. Our Manager of Agricultural Services, Jordan Holst. Our Regional Fire Chief, Nathan Cote. Our Executive Assistant to CAO and Council, Lace Lutz. And our Communications Coordinator, Carly Grant at the front. Our Community Services Coordinator, Jaslyn Peterson. I believe, oh, there she is. And our Information Services Technician, Dean Parker, here at the front. And from a regional and service partners perspective, we have here Sergeant Stu Gemmel, who actually will be part of the presentation this evening as well. Taber Police Service Chief Graham Abella, representing the Community Standards Unit and Municipal Enforcement partnership that the MD of Taber has with the Taber Police Service. And with Chief Abella is Constable Kobe and Constable Brandon. Also with us tonight is Chris Hall, Assistant Assessor for the MD of Taber through Benchmark Assessment Consultants. So he is here as well. So I guess without further delay, we'll initiate our presentations this evening. First up will be the topic of our land use bylaw redraft, and that would be with Bryce Serena providing that.
Thanks, Arliss, and thank you, Council. And just to dive right in, we've had this. This is one of our many projects, as mentioned by the Reeve, is just the land use bylaw update. And so this is a full update of our land use bylaw. It's been an ongoing project here for us throughout the 2023 and 2024. We kind of allude to it. Let me go for a slide here. Right out of the gate. Right out of the gate is the, we have the great reveal here is that, as mentioned earlier, is the upcoming public engagement, which is a really significant portion of our next steps for the land use bylaw. So really that is the next steps. Up till now, you know, and going forward, we've had our team working diligently at developing the land use bylaw, working through the process. And I want to acknowledge right now. I want to acknowledge our full team that's been working on it. So as mentioned by Arliss, Brian Piers, he's our manager of lands planning and development. And Jaslyn Peterson, she's our community services coordinator, as well as Tom Anderson. And Tom would have his regrets sent for sure. He wasn't able to make it tonight, but he's our development officer. And as well, we have our planning services that are provided through the Old Man River Regional Services Commission. And I'm struggling with these slides, so I apologize. So that those are our planning services that are provided, and so we have a senior planner that provides services for the MD of Taber. And as we navigate the land use bylaw, they provide a number of support services for us and our team. And we have an excellent team here at the MD of Taber, made up of subject matter experts and professionals that I would highly encourage everyone here, that anyone who wants to take part in any development services in the MD of Taber to reach out. We really do have an excellent team here ready to serve at the MD of Taber. As we take a look here, we wanted to provide just a basic understanding, just as you know, when you look at the land use bylaw and what it provides for the MD of Taber, and it's a bit of a definition, a bit of a textbook definition, but really when it regulates the use of and development of land and buildings within the MD of Taber to achieve an orderly, efficient, and economic development of land. So at a very basic level, at a very low level, that is the goal of the land use bylaw, combined with other statutory plans, provides a plan that meets the current needs of the community. So really, in a package, that is really what the aim is to do. Ultimately, the bylaw is intended to provide clarity and certainty to the community for looking to developments in the MD of Taber. I'm just going to continue here. So it was mentioned that this is a full renew of the land use bylaw, and so our bylaw actually goes back to 2004 for our last full re-update or full renewal of the land use bylaw, bylaw 1722 to be specific. And one of the interesting things is when we were working through this, I did ask, you know, how often this type of a full renewal does happen, and you know, it is a 15 or 20 year project, so every 15 or 20 years is typical that these types of land use bylaws are looked at in full in entirety like this, and so it is quite an undertaking, but also quite an update for the municipality. I did mention earlier, and we wanted to kind of re-emphasize that the idea of renewing it along with current needs of the community as well, that certainty that it provides for the community. Just a little snapshot of our last 10 years in development here in the MD of Taber. You can see that we're looking at an average of about 129 development permits that are processed here in the MD of Taber per year, just again on average. You can see how they fluctuate throughout the last 10 years. And we are anticipating a slight increase in development permits in the future. as we change and update our land use bylaw and the land use bylaw itself changes and it's applied in the community, we are anticipating an increase in those development permits over time. Excuse me. We're just going to show here is that, obviously we've gone through a number of phases, and so that was kind of mentioned that this has been an ongoing project. So as we've worked through phases of discussion workshops in the municipality, phase 2, we went through and we did a first draft review internally. Reviews and highlights were developed through our processes as well, and then also looking at our next big step, which is to reach out and with council's approval, to move forward with a draft land use bylaw that'll be presented to the public. And we do plan, our next major date would be the 23rd of April, when we hope to get a draft presented to council. Well, we plan to get a draft presented to council, and then hope to move forward from there. And again, the public engagement is the next big step to look forward to with regards to our program. So we put together just a few, and obviously for the sake of time, and certainly we can entertain other additional questions with regards to some of the anticipated changes, and that is the terminology we're using, is anticipated, because again, we have to move forward with our project. It hasn't been in front of council yet as a public document yet, so these are anticipated changes. And so in generalities, we'll share just a few things. If you take a look from left to right up on the slide there, you can see just with respect to things like farm buildings, there is an anticipated change coming. I haven't brought any numbers, and certainly as we take questions, Brian's here as well, and we can discuss or at least answer some questions and take some comment back today. The farm buildings, then that's specific to development permits. Public road setbacks, there's anticipated change from 150 feet. That's anticipated to change down to 100 feet from property lines. So that is one that is got a bit of a quantitative piece that we've included. There wasn't any anticipated change with regards to sight lines for the, or sight triangle for the 350 setbacks for sight triangles. That was something that we wanted to communicate as a team as well, just for today's purposes, as well as the new land use district. So we have a mixed country land use called group country mixed use, and over the years, there was feedback provided with regards to home occupation, industrial class business on group country residential, and providing residential business opportunities that would be linked to having a single residence included with it. So that was another piece of information we just wanted to make sure that we brought forward today as an anticipated change. And again, they're all categorized as anticipated. The second dwelling on parcel, that is under rural agriculture, was another communication we listed, and that would be a second dwelling on parcels less than 80 acres to discretionary rather than prohibited. So that is another anticipated change, as well as the development officer authority. This is planned to be an addition, and it is planned to be an effort to streamline some of our administrative processes, so to create some efficiencies for us, for the process itself. But the actual process itself doesn't change. There's still all of the important aspects of our development process that exist, and we can be assured that those will be maintained. As mentioned, and sorry, I'm losing my voice here a little bit, but as it mentioned, there is a public engagement element, which is the next big step forward in the project, and it's anticipated, I think it was alluded to earlier, was the third week of June, and that will be an opportunity for us to gather comment, and there will be a number of public engagement opportunities, and that we look forward to seeing you there, and we look forward to gathering comment and feedback. So. With that being said, I think I will finish. Thanks. Just introduce Brian. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, Hank. Yeah. So the question, if I may ask, just repeat the question, is when would the draft be available to the public for review? And so we do plan to take the draft to council for approval for public release, and that is going to be very soon. We're going to go into April 23rd meeting to have that draft reviewed by council. So it'll be very quick after when council's made their decision, and then that'll be available to the public for review. Thanks, Hank. Go ahead.
So you said it's going to council for a decision. So if council makes a decision to adopt that, then why are you having public hearing?
Yeah, so I'll just repeat the question. So if council makes a decision to adopt that, why are we having public hearings? The decision of council on the 23rd will only be to adopt or accept the draft for public viewing, to be presented to the public. So once then that'll kick off our public engagement opportunities, and then it'll go forward from there. But the decision to accept that won't be made at that meeting. It'll be a decision strictly to make the document available for public viewing as the next step. Yeah. Thank you. Good question. Go ahead.
How will we review the draft? Is it only online, or will we have copies?
So through council interactions with our project team, it's been very clear that there's a very intentional, we want to make sure it gets out there. There will be availability on our website. There's going to be a number of mediums that will get that document out to the public. And so we do plan to make sure that we are very thorough in our release of that. Maybe Brian can even speak a little bit more to a couple of the options that were presented. Do you want to? Absolutely, and again, do reach out to our team. We're available, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of it. Even if you just stop at the main office, and we certainly will make sure you get a hard copy if that's be the case. Any other questions? We can entertain more questions at the end as well, so that's always an opportunity. Okay. Thank you. And get Brian Pierce to come up, and land management plan is next, so thank you.
I'll just finish Bryce's presentation here for him. Oh. There we are. Okay, my name is Brian Piers. I'm the Manager of Lands, Planning and Development for the MD of Taber. I recognize lots of faces out there. Not to be unexpected, just a lot of you said you'd come, and we're glad you made it out. So thanks for coming out, a great turnout. So like the land use bylaw project we're undertaking, we're also doing a land management plan. So as the MD of Taber is in a bit of a unique situation, a fortunate situation, I would say, of having a pretty vast inventory of lands. Sorry to contradict you, read me an egg, but it's actually 82,000 acres of land that the MD holds title to. Kind of just winging this here, but different tenures. We have grazing lands, we have cultivated lands, and different acres of each, and I'll go through that in a bit here. But sorry, need my glasses. So we're in the initial stages of doing this land management plan. It's been a long time in the works. I know we've been saying this for a long time, but we're now into the guts of it, and we've hired some people to help us through the process, some communications folks and some professional land consultants as well. You can see on the right-hand side there, Catalyst Communications and Integrity Land. So we're not just handing this over to them. We're working very closely with them through the process. We still feel we're close to the land, and have lots to provide for input for the development of this plan, as well as you folks, which we'll go through as well. Like I said, this is something we've been anticipating for some time. We own a lot of land, and right now we basically administer those lands through our current leases. And I think council just wants to see some longer term planning around these lands rather than just going lease to lease and having lots of questions. Want to embed some of these decisions in policy so we don't have the same discussions every time the leases come up. What do we want to do next time? We'll have a long-term plan that'll answer a lot of those questions for us. So as councils change and administration changes, we don't have to keep rehashing some of the same things over and over. Again, same thing in the middle, just wants some solid policy in place. And it just happens too that a lot of the leases, both the grazing leases and the cultivation leases, all expire or will expire in about a year of each other. So this kind of provides us a time to reset, get our ducks in a row, so to speak, and have good policy in place at that time. So we're anticipating going through the process this summer of consulting with the folks, the public, the leaseholders, council, and having some good discussions over the next number of months to be hopefully done in 2025 is our plan. So here's the type of lands we have and the number of acres. The vast majority of is grazing lands, land that came back from the province over the last 10 to 15 years. We have about 58,000 acres of that. Some historical MD tax recovery land that came back from 30s to the 70s. We have about 17,000 acres of that. And these two leases are administered through, or these lands are administered through different leases with different terms. The land is land for grass and grazing. Maybe we should look at doing something to join those two together potentially. And we have about 6,200 acres of cultivated lands. And I can see there's some people in the room that might want to talk about that here soon. So totaling just 82,000 acres and about 89 leaseholders on those lands. Just as another point too, I guess as far as this land does provide important revenue as well for the MD of Tabor, totaling about $2 million, I guess, annually of unfettered land, of unfettered funds that we can use at the discretion of council for operations of the MD of Tabor. So what have we done so far and where are we going in this project? First of all, we wanted to know kind of the general sense of council and direction for policy going forward. So we drafted a survey with our consultants and released it to our council and got some results from that, which will be one piece of the puzzle as far as making future policy. You'll see in my slide ahead here, we're just starting a consultation phase, so that'll involve, similar to the land use bylaw, we're going to have a public survey online for all residents, all leaseholders, to provide their input to consolidate into a common theme of what these lands should look like going forward and the leases associated with them. So those are all the aspects of what will ultimately decide what goes on with these lands. So say we started with council, we're going to go through the consultation phase, the public engagement. We have subject matter experts in our departments as well that will help consolidate a lot of the advice we're hearing and opinions from the public and council. We'll look at other jurisdictions, other municipalities that have some land and see what they're doing, the province, the public, or the private sector. All that will come together to make our final decision and policy in a consolidated plan. So just at our last council meeting, we asked the council what time would be, when would you think these sessions would be best suited to put out, and the goal is that this is a significant part of our whole project is to hear what people think, and I've heard it already before, but we want to have it documented, and part of doing that is running community halls in several community halls sessions in Hayes, Vauxhall, and in Tabor. So there'll be 4 in total in the evenings. We wanted to kind of avoid seating, obviously, and avoid the summer when folks are jumping in their cars and taking holidays. So that's why June was, as well as the land use bylaw too. Those sessions will be in June as well, likely. We haven't set those dates yet, but these are set in stone, and we'll be advertising that through different means with our website and other media, as well as mail outs to probably to our leaseholders too, just to make sure they're aware of when these sessions will be. And that's about it for me. And there probably will be lots of questions. I can take a couple now, but if they spill over into the next session, that's fine as well. Or just some comments you might have. Feel free. Yep.
Of your cultivated land acreage of 6,000 and some acres, is that all dry land or is there irrigated land?
Vastly, it's dry land cultivation. There's a couple scenarios where pivots will sweep over a portion of our lands. I think we have a total of about 140 acres of irrigated lands. And we don't provide the water, we don't provide the irrigation infrastructure or pay for the water. It's all on the leaseholder.
And another question with regards to the management plan on the land, basically I would think that you would monitor erosion and fertility levels and whatever to ensure that land stays in the proper form it should.
On the cultivated lands, you say?
And grass.
We do have protocols to do inventories of our lands. Yes, so more so on the grasslands is doing range health assessments periodically. Just sometimes it just time permits. You do drive-bys, but on the irrigation, we do leave it to the folks that most of these lands in the irrigated lands, they've been with these folks for 50 or 60 years. So I think for the most part, they're doing a good job of managing that land themselves. They know what input should go into producing a crop and have good sustainable farm practices.
Hello, Council. I'm Billy Winborn. The lease land is going to be probably the biggest issue you guys are going to face. I'm hoping that there can be a calm, productive decision on this. I hope there's not no yelling or fisticuffs. I come to a meeting, me and my wife, a couple years ago, not this council, but the council before. And we had some questions that got answered. But John Cable made a comment at that meeting to us saying that we're gonna lose it all. Now, I'm not sure, it's been going in my head day after day after day after day. I don't know if it's greed, jealousy, envy, or if it's just flex with power. But our livelihood depends on this lease. And if things change, it's gonna affect us hugely. We had an agreement with the provincial government before you guys got it. And we changed that prior to 2016. But if you guys change it again, and we have no freedom or stability, then why ranch here? Thank you very much.
I actually don't remember that comment, Bill.
I suspected that.
Well, I don't think anybody else in the room remembers the agreement. Who was there?
Pardon me?
I don't remember that comment. There's a couple others.
You were sitting right at the end, and you had a pink and white shirt on, and you looked over at us and said, you know you're gonna lose it all, is what you said.
I wouldn't have said something like that. I would not have.
Camera? You come to my house after, and you told me that he's your cousin, and he was joking, is what was said.
So Bill, I don't think, I want us to have good conversation like you said. What I said when I was at your house is that that's not what I understood. So we're not gonna get into he said, she said, which is always a good reason why the meeting is taped. But I also feel that we have a ways to go on this. We're not nearly where we want to be. And we want your voice at the table. That's why I've met with you, we've worked with you, because we recognize that it's not just your lease that's important to the municipality, it's everybody's. So no one's here to pull the rug out from anyone. We want to make sure, as Brian said, that there's stability and there's longevity, but that there's benefit to all of the municipality. Brian spoke to the fact that people are doing a good job. If they weren't, they would lose those leases. So that's not what this evaluation is. It's that every time these leases come up, councils are burdened with what's the right practice. So we ask that we find a way, and I don't know right now today where we're gonna land. We haven't had really any indication of that. So we're at the beginning phases, and I hope you come to every one of the meetings and that everyone here does, not just leaseholders, because it impacts everybody who's in the MD.
With that, I think maybe we'll, just to keep the evening going forward, we'll move on to the next one, but that doesn't mean we're cutting off your questions. We're just moving on for now, and we'll come back, loop around again on lands, because I'm sure there's other questions. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Corey Green. I'm the Director of Municipal Operations. I'm here to present on some of the capital projects and construction projects you'll see this year and possibly seen the last year. So, something you'll see this year is an overlay project on Township Road 9-4. It's east of Range Road 16-4, so it'll be just south of Walmart. It's a soil cement stabilized road. What happens to that road is the crown is sinking, so we got to correct that crown to protect that asset. So this year we'll see a 50 mil overlay on that. It'll extend the life of that asset and then hopefully get it done by August 1st. Something that started last year but finished this year was a landfill reclamation. So it's on the north side of Grassy Lake. This was undertaken to kind of make way for a residential subdivision that we plan to build there. Roughly 6,500 tons of material was hauled away to a landfill in Red Cliff. That was just finished last month, so. And this one here, so this is the residential subdivision I was talking about. We're designing a 4-phase subdivision. In 2024, we'll see the first phase being built. It'll produce 48 new residential lots available for sale, and we're hoping to have those available by 2025 for purchase. And some projects that you might have seen last year would have been the Enchant residential subdivision. So that was completed. It's seen 36 lots come online. Range Road 18-1 and Township Road 15-2 was a gravel road rehab project. We had the 2023 line painting project. Range Road 17-3 was an overlay and a grade widening. And we also had the 2023 asphalt patching program. Some projects that you'll see this year done by our in-house staff would be, we have a shoulder pull program. We're projecting to do 37 kilometers this year. A gravel recovery program, projecting to do 137 kilometers this year. We're planning to do 50 sites of drainage repair work, that's ditch work or culverts. Graveling, we're aiming to get 953 kilometers done this year. There's various intersection improvements. We are expanding a gravel pit and reclaiming a portion of that same gravel pit. We're also expanding a landfill and enchant and reclaiming an old cell. So this map kind of explains and shows graphically the locations of those 50 sites, the culverts and ditch work that's proposed. And this map shows the sites of the gravel recovery and the shoulder pole projects. I'll take any questions on that before I go to the next one. So. Yep. Sorry. Oh, yeah.
You talked about Township 9-4 from Walmart Road East. Are you doing anything from the Walmart Road to 36?
Nothing this year, no.
What do you mean with gravel recovery? What does that mean?
So the gravel recovery is, we go and take that little lip on the edge of the gravel road and we incorporate that into the surface of the road. What that does is it allows the water to drain off, protecting that road. Yeah.
What's the shoulder pole? How's that?
So the shoulder poles, it's kind of the same. We take that ridge off, but we do go a lot deeper into the ditch, and we try to do some of the ditch work as well, some of the drainage work, improve culverts while we're there. It's more of an in-depth project.
Just a comment about, it seems like if the grading job was done better, we wouldn't have those shoulders built up the way they do. Is it because a grader is usually too short, or I'm not sure what the problem is. They seem to build up fairly quickly, and I took some pictures, but if we get a heavy rain, we have water runs down those shoulders to the low spot, and it will flood the whole road.
Right.
The shoulders are high enough to keep 6 inches of water in the middle of the road.
Right.
So obviously something needs to be done. I'm just wondering if we could avoid some of these projects if the grading were done somewhat differently.
I believe the ridges are coming from the traffic traveling at speeds that they do and throwing the gravel outside of the pathway. Some of it is.
I think you need to drive around. they're definitely not coming from, because I just even watched them grade a road just earlier this week.
Mhm.
Like, speed of grading is a problem, I do believe. Quality of gravel being applied to the roads, it seems to be like more, well, like clay silt than it is like proper sand road crash.
Right.
It's not, the gravel disappears and the muck comes down.
Yeah, and we do get our gravel tested as we crush.
And I just, like, the lines are like, they're dead straight, they're not, it's not like car tires.
Right. Yeah, and our graders we're implementing a new training program, so all of our operators are getting trained.
Yeah, getting back to this grading, and you talked about the lip that's on there. I've been in this industry forever. Previously, I used to own my own grader. I've actually been contracted to grade roads in different municipalities and stuff. And one area was up to Wheatland County. You always see a crown on the road. And the MD of Tabor, for some reason, for years, like this gentleman said, you can have, sometimes it looks like a canal. And all those grader operators gotta do is take one more pass. You just gotta pull that little ridge in and keep that road crown. As a matter of fact, today I was hauling gravel on me and Agnes Road in pit 17, if you're familiar with that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the grader man was out there, and he's not pulling that little ridge in. And that causes a major problem when it does rain, because the trucks tractor running down it, pushing water.
Right. Yeah, and all I can say
It
is,
doesn't take much more to do it.
yeah,
So this idea of the shoulder pull, if you've got your grader operators doing it properly, you don't have to worry about that. And next time you get up around Strathmore, you go out on some of those roads and you don't see that.
okay, I'll try them. Yep.
You were mentioning a training program, so when will that be for them, and is it going to be mandatory for all of the graders to then attend that program?
Yes, every grader operator will attend that program. And it's taking place this year. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to, I guess, clear up this. I do think if you, like, back to a few points on there, with the other guys are making too, is you could save yourself having to, like, almost make some of these programs because of they would just do the job proper the first time. So if you do things once right, then you can save yourself having to create a shoulder, well, maybe not a shoulder program, but a gravel recovery to make it worked out. Just
Right.
by that's one path of them knowing what they're doing properly.
Okay. Yeah. Any, yeah.
I hear these shoulder pull-out contractors, are they the same guys who do the actual grading of those?
It's a separate in-house crew. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I can answer more later if you wanted. So the other thing we got going on is a transportation master plan. Reeve me and Ag kind of alluded to it before, but we hired a consultant to review our current transportation network and come up with a plan for future maintenance improvements. This plan will be our guide, our in-house guide for infrastructure investment moving into the future. So some of the things that have been going on are we've had 2 public open houses. I hope that some of you, if not all of you, attended those. We had 1 stakeholder meeting. Currently, you might see some traffic counters, getting some intersection assessment data. The consultant is doing some traffic modeling currently right now. They're doing some GS mapping, and they're also reviewing our policies. When this is all done, they will give us their recommendation. We will implement that, and that'll be our guide moving forward. Yes?
It's not really the best time to do the traffic monitoring when you got road bans on and people are avoiding travel on roads. Like, it doesn't really make sense to do your traffic monitoring when you got road bans on. People are avoiding certain roads. Or how do you monitor when it's not getting so easy?
Yeah, and they've got some algorithms to figure that out, so they know what that equates to in peak season. So, and they will be doing some additional ones in the summer. Yes.
Just further to that, the additional ones would be better to have some in the fall, roughly the peak traffic period.
Yeah, and we will have our own traffic counting software, so we will use their guide, and that'll direct us on what we need to do. So, nothing else. I'll hand it over to the RCMP.
I got a question. What's your policy on hitting the phone lines? In the fall.
We try not to.
The one feed me is Temporary Alliance, been there since late 2013. Your grass cutter hit it last fall, and it never got reported. I phoned Telus in, and they said it never got reported.
Okay. Yeah, I can't speak to that incident, but if you let me know which road that's on, I can talk to TELUS and have that reinstated.
Cause they're gonna bury that thing supposedly this spring, finally.
Oh, okay.
As soon as it thaws out, at least that's what I've been told lately.
Okay.
Since 2015.
Right. Yeah, and there's lots of temporary lines out there that I don't know about, so. Yep. Yes.
I'm just curious how set in stone the, guide that you received from the transportation people doing the master plan will be, or will council then review it and make their changes they feel need to be made?
A draft will go to council
So
for
it'll be a
approval.
draft.
Yep.
And currently, there are two counselors sitting on the Transportation Master Plan Committee.
Yeah, so currently there are 2 counselors on a working committee for that plan. So the council's input will be put into the plan as it's being developed. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sergeant Stu Gemmel. I'm the detachment commander here for the Tabor Vauxhall RCMP detachment. I'd like to take a moment to report on my detachment's priorities from last year, the goals we had set, and advise what our priorities will be for the 24-25 fiscal year. The RCMP's fiscal year runs through April 1st to March 31st. Our priorities were derived from consultations with community councils, area residents, and the members of my detachment. Last year's priorities were traffic safety through education and enforcement, visibility and participation in community events, and family violence investigations. Last year, my detachment members wrote 510 violation tickets. This was up 178 from the previous year. At the start of the year, I had set the goal of having an average of 30 violation tickets per month written, and I'm happy to report that we beat that goal with an average of 42.5 per month. On top of the violation tickets my detachment members wrote, the Coaldale Traffic Services and Redcliffe Traffic Services wrote 143 violation tickets within our detachment area. Last year, my detachment took 20 impaired drivers off the road, which is also up 4 from the previous year. My detachment conducted 2 traffic safety presentations at local high schools within the detachment area. The ultimate goal of these efforts is to contribute to road safety and the reduction of collisions on our roadways. It is hard to quantify the success of our proactive work in achieving this goal. However, I'm confident that our efforts did contribute to safer roads in our area. The second priority I'd like to discuss is visibility and participation in community events. Last year, my detachment participated in 12 various community events and conducted 5 school presentations. Of these 12 community events, a member or members participated in 6 of these in our red serge or ceremonial uniforms. My members make every effort to attend and participate in all community events. If you're planning a community event and would like the RCMP to attend or participate in any way, please contact me at my office and I'd be glad to see if we can accommodate your request. The members of my detachment are also required to log their patrols of each community in the detachment area. For this purpose, I define a patrol as 30 minutes of time spent in the community with the objective of reducing crime. Last year, each community had the following patrol numbers: Barnwell 366, Enchant 149, Grassy Lake 371, Hayes 141, and Vauxhall 531. Our third and final priority was family violence investigations. Progress in this area is hard to track, with a huge factor being that a lot of family violence goes unreported. The RCMP policy defines family violence as any disharmony between people who are intimately involved. In almost all cases where an intimate partner is reporting an incident to the police against their partner, we treat that as a family violence investigation. Last year, my detachment responded to 33 incidents of family violence and laid charges in 12 instances where evidence of an offense existed. My detachment utilizes Tabor Police Services Victim Services Unit to offer all available supports to the victims of family violence. Through consultations with the community councils, area residents, and members of my detachment, it was determined that our priorities for this year will remain the same as they were last year. Visibility and participation in community events, traffic safety through education and enforcement, and family violence investigations. These priorities are part of my detachments and the RCMP in Alberta's commitment to ensuring safer communities in Alberta. Are there any questions for me? Yes.
Throughout the last 5 to 10 years, as the MD and this area has grown, more traffic, more homes, more farms being built. My question to you is, how many more officers have been placed in this detachment? Because there's been many times where an officer is on the other side of the country for 45 minutes to an hour to come out to a call.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we police the 80,000 acres of the MD, and we also police bits of Vulcan County, bits of Warner County, and bits of 40 Mile County as well. So we have a massive area. Our detachment hasn't grown. It goes, those numbers are determined with crime severity index, and they're reviewed every few years. I don't know exactly when, but it has been determined that our detachment has one of the lowest crime severity indexes in the province. So our detachment hasn't grown in the last few years. With the crime severity index? Well, anytime somebody phones the police, a file is generated, and so they can look at the stats of what that is. And so they look at criminal offenses and the time it takes to complete those investigations.
Besides the crime, just the accidents.
Yeah.
Usually the fire department beats you by 45 minutes sometimes.
They get the call first, for sure. I've noticed that this fire department has a really good response time. They do get the call first. This is my first detachment where they beat us on scene, and I don't know. It's just the way it is. We get there as fast as we can. Yes.
Yeah, a couple of comments I'd like to make, and I brought it up before at MD meetings, but we live on a paved road. It seems like every weekend and whatever, it becomes a new racetrack. And skid marks on it are probably better than a racetrack. And I wanted you to comment on that. And the other thing that I want to comment on is not too far back, I used to think we lived in a pretty safe community until about a month ago when you get 4 or 5 RCMP cars just come into a yard and open the doors, and I can only assume what you're looking for. And right away you kind of think, how real safe is our community? What's going on next door? And I just kind of want your comment on that.
Okay. In terms of the vehicle traffic on your road, if you see something or some offense is being committed, you should phone our 24-hour emergency line, and they'll dispatch an officer. Oftentimes, there's only one of us working. We cover a huge area. If you see something happening, please phone it in. We rely on our community to be our eyes and ears. We have programs such as Rural Crime Watch who help us respond to those kind of complaints. And we can also target patrols. But if we aren't getting told where we need to be or develop some sort of pattern of when this is happening or where, we can't be there. So I highly suggest you phone us if something like that's happening so we can be aware of it.
The problem, and we've done that.
Okay.
And but the response time isn't fast enough, and by the time somebody comes out, the party's over.
Mm-hmm.
They've moved on.
Yeah.
I don't know about should we go out and start taking some license plate numbers or start slowing these boys down, or
Sure. Only if it's safe to do so. I'm not going to ask you to go out and confront anybody. Like in terms of getting license plate numbers, for sure a license plate number helps. But again, your complaint's not different than anybody else's in this community. They complain about the traffic. That's why it is one of our priorities. And again, if we didn't catch them that time, phone us again. Maybe we're closer next time. And we can document the pattern, and we can target our patrols. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, just wanting to add a little bit of extra perspective to that question, specifically with respect to speed or traffic infractions. So the RCMP here are our police of jurisdiction. They respond to those and deal with those as they're able to. The MD of Tabor within the last year and a half has also entered into a partnership with the Tabor Police Service to provide a little bit of additional municipal law enforcement, which does also include some provincial statute enforcement, i.e. traffic, speeding. So these gentlemen in blue back here are a resource with respect to that. So you can call the Tabor Police Service dispatch number as well to report those. But for the here and now, for tonight, if you're willing to share with me the name of the road, and I'll look back there, I'll repeat it, and they can perhaps incorporate that and make a special effort to target that from a patrol perspective.
I guess
So.
I'm gonna end this is, I'm pretty proud to live in the municipal district of Tabor. I've got 9 grandkids that are in it. I would expect the law enforcement to not only take care of us through traffic safety, but you know, if there's a drug deal or things going on in the community, I would expect that to be arrested and eradicated.
Yeah, so I'll pass that question back to the sergeant here, but I'm going to loop back with you after the event to get the name of that road,
Sure.
because I will expressly, or you can go directly to them and share that information with them tonight. So.
I'm not sure what incident you're referring to. There could be various incidents where we have multiple members respond. Sometimes it could be criminal, sometimes it could be nothing. I can't speak about specific incidents. Again, our MD, our detachment area, enjoys one of the lowest crime severity indexes in this province. Not to say crime doesn't happen. I'm not blind to that it does happen in our MD. Yeah, I don't know what to say. What you saw could have happened and likely did happen, but what it was, rumors also swirl, and it could have been something very simple. Yeah, and if something major happened, we usually do media releases as well. So, any other questions?
I'd just like to just do a quick comment. We had coffee with council in Grassy Lake, one of our first ones, and the residents there informed us of some shenanigans going on between Grassy and the Forks, and with us relaying that message in our council to the RCMP, I think it resulted in an impaired and some other
Traffic charges.
Being laid. So the response is there from council to the RCMP, and if you bring your comments forward, they will get looked after by RCMP or our service with Tabor Police Force.
I can't stress enough that if something is happening, please don't be quiet about it. Don't go on Facebook with it. We don't look at Facebook. Phone our number and talk to us and let us know. Yep.
So yeah, you guys are doing a great job. Your hands are
Thank
tied
you.
behind it. I appreciate the job you guys do.
Yeah.
A good job.
Thank you.
But if you guys are in Grassy, like they say, when you guys leave Grassy, a group text goes out where you're going. Like
Mhm.
they monitor you where you're going, and you're monitored just like you're monitoring them.
Yep.
You are monitored, so I don't know how you get around that. But you say I've called before, and you guys did a good job. You come to Vauxhall and you monitored and
Mhm.
put up the nights there for
Yeah.
for a while, and then the group just monitor you when you guys quit coming. Well, then they start coming back.
I get it for sure. But if they come back, phone us back, and hopefully, if they come back soon enough, we'll still be close. So we drive big, bright cars, and it's easy to see us. So again, just report it, please. So. All right. Yeah.
This could be a traffic safety issue, and it also could be a road grading issue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to observe who is doing this, but in intersections on gravel roads, they do donut holes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how, so if I call in, who would I
Yep.
call
I mean, you could phone and let us know, but it is tough. Like, there's no way we're gonna catch whoever made those tire tracks. If it's causing a danger, the MD would like to know about it. I'm sure, so that they could fix the road. But again, if you see it, please phone us and we'll send somebody out there, or try to develop a pattern and be out there when it is happening. So, all right, I'll hang out for a little bit afterwards too. So if anybody wants to come talk to me, please do. Thank you.
Alrighty, so that does conclude the presentation portion of tonight. We will transition into the Q&A question and answer session here. Council will have an opportunity to speak to whatever they want to provide response and input to. So Councillor Reeve Nega and myself could help facilitate and moderate that. Just want to add a couple pieces, short pieces of clarity. I don't want to speak too much because time is time. And it's valuable to you folks. But just with respect to what was summarized tonight in the presentations, again, starting with the land use bylaw, it's a once in every 15 to 20 year project. So again, crucial and key from a public engagement perspective. Again, and I'm not brown nosing to my boss to the left here, but that is their primary key focus on these projects is understanding and what the public is thinking with respect to what's being presented, what's being proposed. To Mike's question about when it comes to council, just for clarity from a perspective of how bylaws are passed, is they receive all three. They have to be read 3 times, so they receive 3 readings. And what Bryce was referencing was no readings. So it's just being presented to council in its draft stage as information, and then it will be made available and viewable for the public to take a look at. After they go through consultation, then they would do a first reading, then they would hold more public consultation through a open public hearing, and then it would proceed through to second and third reading, and they would take into consideration that feedback that they get through that public consultation. So just to clarify that process, that no, there's no pre-decisions or pre-approvals before we seek that public input. Moving on to the land management plan, again, the comment was mentioned, I think, by Mr. Winborn, and I think it's mutually agreed that it's a big project for the municipal district that affects every single person in the municipal district. Again, council's key priority at this point in time is seeking the feedback of the public before they get into actual establishment of the policy. And that's why we're wanting to highlight tonight those key dates for that public and stakeholder engagement for that important plan for the MD of Taber. Same theme with the master transportation plan. Public engagement has been council's key priority. Understanding what it is that the public as a whole, keeping in mind that they have to consider the community interest as best as they can. And then with respect to the transportation and the roads conversations, we hear the feedback, and I think the approach and desire of the municipality is to move forward as best they can. From this point on, we can't go back and do what has been happening for the last however many years, but we can definitely look to improve moving forward as it relates to essentially the biggest budget expense for the municipality, being our transportation network. So with that, we can transition into question and answers. We'll do our best to address those. If we can't address everything to the specificity you need tonight, we'll also take effort to follow up with you individually too. But it might require us to connect after the question and answer session. And even after the question and answer session, if you want to hang around, visit with each other, this is why we're here. So we'll commence those questions and or comments. So.
So it appears you've got a lot of people working on two major projects here. Another question I got, how many consultants has the MD hired in order to deal with some of this?
Yeah, for sure. So for the master transportation plan, that's one consultant, and for the land management plan, there's two consultants involved.
So why is it that it can't be done in-house like it was done 30, 40 years ago? We've got all these people here, they don't have the expertise to deal with that, or what?
Well, with respect to the land management plan, there's a desire to have a bit of an objective approach. Like we all have bias, whether we are aware of it or not. So that does underpin some of it, but they are, as was referenced earlier, they are projects that happen every couple decades. So they aren't a typical annual project that
So these two
our staff load.
got started how long ago? But they're not completed yet.
Yeah. So land use bylaw it's about a two-year process, and we're in that last year. And sorry, the land use bylaw isn't. That's not a consultant, but master transportation plan started in November. Target date to have that finished is August, I believe, so this summer. And then land management plan, as Brian mentioned earlier, started this year, and target is to finish in 2025.
Bureaucracy involved with all this, is that why so many delays?
No, I guess the delay, perhaps I can connect with you after to understand the delay, but it's really making the right information available with sufficient time and opportunity to seek public engagement. Public engagement takes time, for sure. Very good questions. Yep.
So this land management here, you guys are building, so farmers haven't been putting permits in for shops or anything like that right now. So you guys don't know what transportation needs these guys are building. Like, you're doing this, boys. You guys gotta get together and figure out who's building what. This is what, I'm just saying right now, this is 40 years behind your time.
Yeah.
You guys should have been doing this 40 years ago. I'm just standing right here going, I'm shocked. Like, what have you guys been doing? Well, the guy, I don't know you guys, but the guys before you and before them, you guys gotta get this going before. You guys gotta know who's building what.
Yeah, I agree, and that's definitely a contemplation with the upcoming land use bylaws to be able to better understand
Like, I get
where
paid
the
for everything I build.
Yep. Yep.
But you guys know what I'm doing.
so that's what I mean. That's where we're headed. I can't change whatever the past was, but
I don't mind taking this one.
yeah, go ahead.
I don't mind taking this one. We're working on that with SDA right now. We're having actually conversations about, and that's in our land use, that who needs to get a permit for what? Because there could be any agricultural infrastructure built somewhere, and if we don't know about it till the complaints come in, we're behind. And I think we're leaning towards that we're not trying to in any way get in anybody's business of progress. Like whether you want to build a mechanic shop, a small feedlot, a potato shed, greenhouse, we just need to know where it's at. We don't want to charge extra money for it. We need to take care of our roads. Yeah. And to the previous question too, like, we're not overstaffed here. Since I've been on council, I have great admiration and respect for our staff of implementing, keeping our roads in good condition where they are at. And that's why we have to hire outside consultants to get us compile the information so that we can go forward. And we're hoping that you guys give us that information and all these open sessions, and then we can make an informed decision.
kinda like this question here about the permits and everything. I live on an oiled road that, has been oiled for as long as I can remember. And we get development down the road that's quite intensive with a lot of truck traffic. Now, I'm scared that we're gonna lose our road. Our road's gonna get tore up and ripped up because they're gonna make it into a highway, I mean, a road, a gravel road or all road or whatever to a processing plant. I don't know what you guys use for a template. Like, it's oil now, we would sure hate to have it, torn up. I guess the main thing I've heard is respect. And you said you gotta have respect for everything. There's a lot of non-respect out there, be it the donuts on the road, be it the speeding, stealing, everything else that's going on. How are we gonna fix that? I don't know, but I think that these gentlemen here, I'm very, very excited that they're coming on board. It's really good, and it's gonna be a real tool for us to help everybody get going here. But we have to have respect. If there's a road ban on a road, don't drive on the road. It's pretty easy. I don't know. We've all done it for 100 years, but now all of a sudden things have to change. We can't go over a mile because might get dust on the cab. I don't know. So I find it I get very, very frustrated. I guess it's maybe my OCD or whatever, but I just call it just a total lack of respect. We have speed limits, they're not. The hell of a speed limit. We're getting way too busy. I guess we call it way too busy. Like if you don't drive fast, you're not busy. It's funny, there was a sign in Tabor here where on the business that said, relax, this isn't a competition. And is that ever true? So anyways, thank you everybody. I'm sorry. You guys are doing a wonderful job. Please, don't get me wrong. I'm very proud. I'm a 5th generation in the MD of Tabor. I pay taxes. I pay taxes like everybody else does. I just have an acreage. I'm kind of competing with people that farm thousands of acres. They don't have a bigger voice than I do. Because at the end of the day, they have one vote. I have one vote. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
I just got a question about our colony that land we rent. Like I said, we do a good job, we've had it for almost 60 years. And so, the grand scheme of things was recommended 2% increase on our rent. And in the grand scheme, you guys upped it 50% our rent, and it was based because you said, oh, guys here are willing to pay that anymore. Well, we had a big guy come to the area. He's realizing he can't grow a crop in rent law, so he's trying to get rid of the land out there he's got now, but you guys upped our rent by 50%. Not the 2% that was recommended. So I want to know your reasoning behind going up that much when it was recommended 2% and giving you the option to wherever you wanted. And now that land is out there for sale, this guy bought and he's renting some of it and he's trying to get rid of it, but he drove up the price. So you say we do a good job and it's reasonable to up your rent some, I understand, or whatever, but 50%, what was the rationale behind that? When my last 3 years in the rent law, my grand total for the 3 years total that I grew bushels was 15. I grew 9, 6, and 0 last year. But you guys think it's a fair rate to go up 50%?
Okay, with respect to the rationale, my approach would be to tag team that with Brian Pierce, just outlining.
Well, he recommended 2%. Council decided not to go with what he recommended.
Okay, well.
I want to know why they recommended went to 50%.
Okay.
Brian Pierce recommended 2%, which is reasonable. Why
Yep.
did they seem to go to get the almighty dollar all they can when we were doing, as he said, good stewards of the land?
Okay.
Do you
That,
want it back? Is that what you want, so you can sell it? Is that the grand scheme, to try to force it off?
I'm gonna have to defer that one to council representative, so.
I'll start, but then anybody can come in. So whenever there's a recommendation to council, I would not expect that it's they have a viewpoint on it, but it's not their reasoning. And so the reason that it was 2% was because that's what we've done for year after year after year after year. So what I would like, Bryce, if you can come, Brian, if you can come forward, or Bryce, whoever, and to tell me what the rate was on irrigated land, and then tell us what the new rate is, so that that's clear. And because we did look at all kinds of factors. It wasn't willy-nilly. It wasn't to get a big price gap. There was all kinds of discussion. So first, if you could tell us what the rate was before and what it is now. Per acre.
So each individual quarter the rent was based on the agricultural use assessment, so it's the assessment what that land is valued at. And it's a rate that's determined by the province. It's not a market rate, but it reflects the varied capacity of that quarter to grow crops. So if it's a poor soils with wetlands and hills, your assessment would be lower, but that rate that was applied to all those different assessments is the same. So so some rents are in that $50 to $60 range, and some ended up in that $80 to $90 range based on what that assessment was. So you're correct, Martin. The rents went up probably about 50% from what they were before. So the rate on the rate for cultivation, dryland cultivation, was 28% of the assessed value prior to this, and now it's at 45. So I guess.
I have a question though, like, you guys do this we're in a 6 out of 7 year drought, and you guys decide to bump it up 50%. I just don't get, like, what's the deal with that? Like, yeah, you guys are out to grab money, obviously, but it's not our fault the oil or whatever you guys were getting money from before has dried up. Now you're taking it out of a 60-year-old land that we've had in the family and upping it 50%. Like, that's ludicrous. You can't even, you go tell somebody that's renting a house that tomorrow your rent's going up 50%. Good luck with that.
So if I can just make a bit of a comment here. In any agreement, lease agreement, sales agreement, any agreement, there's at least two parties. And in this agreement too, there's two parties. And one party is the tenant, and the other party is not council, it's not administration, it is the rest of the residents of the MD of Tabor. And council's job is to represent all the residents of the MD of Tabor. Not just tenants, and not just the rest of the residents of the municipality. So we have to come to a place where the agreement is fair for all the parties involved. And that becomes a real balancing act. And I think that is part of the reason, or that is the reason that Nag has said, we need to have all the voices heard. That's what the consultation is for. And so that all the voices can be heard, the tenants and the rest of the municipality as well. Yes.
You say you want MD to voice heard each. So the MD's been living off I farm in with the oil patch. The MD's living off the back of the oil patch for 50 years. That's where the majority of your money comes from to run the MD. The next majority comes from businesses or acreage owners. So the acreage owners now, you decided to up to 20%. You're up on our acreage, 20% value. Man, look at that this year. 20%. That's just up at 20. Not only did you up my rent, now you up my acreage 20%. But then I get the tax notice of the grand scheme thing that everybody got a voice. Farmland's not worth any more. The tax on land's not going up at all. They're going to pay no more tax. So you're talking about being fair. You up my rent,
So
Yeah,
if,
I'm with you,
so
like,
can I address that one first?
I wanna piggyback it first. I feel the exact same way, and John Potato and Tamara, I spoke to Tamara on the phone last week. Regarding the acreages, I had believed the exact same concerns as far as agriculture, land use, and I felt intimidated to speak up because I do work in the agriculture industry, but at the same time, if I don't, who's gonna say something? So, I don't feel it's correct that an irrigated quarter is worth what it's worth, and from my understanding, that's a provincial area of the problem that you guys can't address yourselves, but yeah, I live on an acreage just right here in Grassland Estates. The road sucks, the gravel in there sucks, the snow plowing sucks, my taxes went up 14%. I made a call to Chris, and he does the song and dance about, well, it's what everyone else is doing. Well, okay, when does it stop? When I have to permit when I build a shop, I have to permit when I build the house. You guys know everything I do. You know how to assess my property. Yet I can see these big buildings going up all around. Who's getting dinged on it? I feel
So-
the exact same way Bert does. Like it's horse shit.
Okay, can I respond here now?
One sec, I got one comment. Tamara, you said it was that the agriculture is the backbone of the MDs?
Own it.
Why isn't the agriculture paying some taxes? And one more.
So first of all here, can I clear something up here with regard to, the tax rates have not been set for 2024. That has not been done. You have received the assessment on your properties. And let me finish here. So you've received the assessment notices. Market value on the non-residential and residential property has gone up. On the agricultural property, that is set. On Tuesday, we had a committee of the whole meeting, which involved our budget discussions, finalizing our budget for the year. I can tell you there was a very robust conversation about the mill rates and how that will affect not the top number on your tax bill is your assessment, then there's a mill rate, and then the bottom number is what you pay. And we had a very robust discussion regarding that, and we are very aware of the impacts that the increased assessment will have on residential property. And we are very concerned about that as a council.
So do you think that, and again, I don't know the ins and outs of how you guys do your per acre for these guys that are renting cultivated land. I do feel for them. But what, if you do the math based on your $2 million of income on your 81,500 acres, that's $24 an acre. Do you feel that that's fair to the MD as well as fair to these guys? That maybe if he's saying he's getting $90 to $100 an acre on his dry land, rented land, so there's stuff out there for $4 to $10 an acre? Where's the balancing act on that?
And that you want to, yeah.
Quickly, I don't. So that number, that $2 million isn't just revenue generated from agriculture. So out of that 2 million, about 1.4 is oil and gas surface revenue. So that remains with $600,000 we get off of our lands for agricultural rent. And the rates are vastly different on cultivated lands versus grasslands, which is the lion's share of what land the MD owns, which is quite, at this point, quite generous, I guess, or quite reasonable rent for grassland rent. Less than $1 an acre.
So I'll just speak to the discussions that we had at Committee of the Whole. So normally this meeting falls after we've set our budget and our mill rate, so it's always good to have this. And we have another consultation within council on Tuesday before we need to set the mill rate at the end of the month. The concern that we heard through all of the members who were there is that the assessment went up by 16.7. Is that, Chris, can you confirm what the average assessment went up in our municipality? Thank you. Chris works for Benchmark, and he is our assessor, so some of you may have seen him at your property.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, so my name is Chris Hall. I'm the assessor for the MD of Tabor. We're Benchmark Assessment Consultants. So what we do, we're professional valuators. All we do is value property. We have no vested interest in your properties. We report what the market's telling us. We go on a 3-year, 5-year cycle, and we determine what your value is of your property during that time, and our year-over-year increases that we do. And it is a balancing act as well, but the way it's been over the last couple of years, especially acreage owners, unfortunately, get hit the hardest because they pay the brunt of the taxes. What I do, I will do a reinspection of properties over, like this year, for instance, we're going to be doing Division 4 worth of Barnwell. Getting a little bit closer to Tabor, values increase. This year, the average increases in the MD, about 16%. It ranges between 12 to 20% sometimes. It just depends on your location, what type of house you have. So we stratify your houses based on condition, location, similarities, and we do a statistical analysis to determine those values, and we get all of the sales throughout the year to determine what the value increases are going to be. So all we do is we just report what the market is doing. When it comes to your property taxes, we don't have anything to do with that. It's just the value. But yes, values have been up last couple of years especially. I think last year it was around 9% average. We were a little bit conservative on that just because coming out of COVID and things were moving so fast, we weren't sure where it was going to end up. So we're playing a little bit of catch up this year for the last year's values. So that's where we're at. We do 50 municipalities in Southern Alberta, and this is the same across the board. Some of the hamlets that we cover, we're seeing 40% increases. I mean, they're low value properties, so $100,000 property going to $140,000, yeah, that's a 40% increase. But we're seeing significant increases on percentage. You have to look at the property individually to determine, like, if it's a $1 million house, for instance, yeah, if you have a 10% increase, yeah, that's going to be 6 figures on your assessment. Yes.
So do you stand behind your evaluation?
Well, of course we do. We're audited by the government. Yeah.
Because I'm not sure if it was your company. I had mine evaluated.
Okay.
And so I phoned in, did that field project. And they said, well, that's base price. I said, well, you can have it for that. I said, well, no, we can't. Like, we're not in the business of buying it. We're just valuing it at. And I ended up selling it for 20% of what you guys valued it at.
Well, it's not.
If you evaluate that and tax it at that, maybe you guys should stand behind paying what we're short getting paid if it sells for less.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's a balancing act.
Stand behind it. You just go by what you think somebody sold.
No, it's not just what we have statistics. We have.
You should stand behind it. If somebody can't get the money, you evaluate that. You should stand behind it.
We are audited every year by the provincial government. We have standards that we have to meet. We actually had a detailed audit this year of the MD of Tabor. And we're well within in the realm of where we should be as far as our assessments go, and we are monitored that way. Yes.
I just want you guys to promote us to want to have a nice place, and not to de-incentivize me to do upgrades and build nice things on my property because it's going to cost me more. Like, I get people with money pay more money. I get that. But let's make it a place where we make notice historic things as well as tax fairly, I guess.
Yeah. If you have any other assessment questions, I mean, I'll stick around here. I'll give you my card. If you have specific questions on your property, I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody. You can phone me, and we can definitely discuss that.
This isn't a question for assessment, but reading last week's Tabor Times, it seems like the MD's flush with money, and they donated, according to my figures, about $23,000 to various groups. And for years, all we listened to was a shortfall in tax revenue, but as we're talking about ratepayers and stuff, we're getting hit all the time. But why is it that the MD can afford to donate $23,000?
Do you want to speak to that, or do you want me to? I'll take a first stab, or one perspective, and then I'll pass it to the Reeve. But those community groups that the the council does make those decisions to contribute to, they actually do provide services to the community. They do. So they do provide. I'm just saying from a cultural perspective, they provide services that.
Why is it though that it's like I've lived in this community forever? Why is it that in years gone by, these so-called little groups and stuff that wanted stuff, they went out and did their own fundraising. What gets me is to go to a municipality, and we're seeing it all over the country. It doesn't matter whether it's municipal, federal, provincial. Governments are giving away money like it's water, but it all comes out of our pocket. And I don't think that's the mandate of the MD to give away money.
Okay, I will pass it to the Reeve. I don't think a response would.
Okay. So, fair statement, John, I understand. But those groups, and they range from, the mountain bike trails, the hiking trails, to a rodeo. In order for the MD to help provide recreation, we feel that it is best used by having a policy that they have to make an application, it gets evaluated, some are turned down, some are not. We don't run much recreation in the MD. If you go to an urban municipality, their demands change significantly. What we've also tried to do is work with our neighbors so that there's not a price differentiation. So if you live in the MD, you don't go to the town of Tabor and pay a different price to go to the pool because we make a contribution to their recreation. We have a policy, we redid it 2 years ago to be reflective of what we feel is important. It's been we have 20 years of data of what groups have received the money. In order for them to operate, they often need our help. And we feel that we'd rather give them money to run rather than them get dumped on us, for lack of a better word, to operate a hall, to operate a recreation activity. We feel that it's a good use of our money. Otherwise, we're looking at staffing, paying utilities, paying operators. So there's some balance in that as well. Back to the question of Bert. So yeah, I do think agriculture is the base because we have changed a bit from oil. When I got on council, and shame on me, farm buildings aren't taxed. So I'm married to a farmer. Now I'm a farmer of 30 years. Yeah, and so it's a bit of a surprise. The land value hasn't changed, and that's provincially regulated. We had people who went and spoke with the Minister of Municipal Affairs to say, let's open up farm assessment. Let's change this so that farms are paying more of their share. And they said, not a chance. So our council hasn't made a decision yet. I don't know which way it'll go, but it was the debate of the day, and not everyone's on the same page. How do we get farmers to pay more? The bigger issue is we changed that tax rate for farmland. We put the mill rate up. Well, that impacts the dryland guys and the irrigated guys all the same. So if it's a 20% increase on land that hasn't produced, it's still a 20% increase. We can't separate out the dry land and the irrigation.
I was going to ask you, is a lot of potato stores being built, and they're not paying any taxes or whatever? But you'll get that back to that point. Let's welcome oil and gas give 1.6 million taxes.
So that's surface rates. Surface.
I'll let you talk to them.
That would be the surface rents revenue on the MD lands. 1.4 million.
I'm gonna give you a bubble to you guys, about 5 or 7 years, that'll be $800,000.
Yeah, it's been declining.
Out the door. That's just what it is. Revenue, they still don't have tax. It's huge more.
Lots of the comments, and it's just an observation from me is that exactly what we hear tonight is what has been discussed around the council table. It's actually quite representative and reflective of those conversations, but I will pass it to John.
Well, that's been my question since I sat down
after my first couple meetings is, I think the farmers are treated a little bit, a little too fairly. But I brought up at the last meeting, can we split irrigation farmland and dryland farmland in the mill rate? Associate a different mill rate with each. No, you can't. We have to abide by a few rules along the way. So it is a hard discussion to have. And back to your comments about the dryland, I'll eat that. I pushed for the 70 because every research I did in the areas, Brooks was $70. I looked at an AFSC chart. It's $70 rent in Brooks. It's $70 in Tabor, Lethbridge, and I thought, oh, it seems like a fair rent to pay. I apologize if it hardships you guys, but then I encourage you to come back to council and tell us your point of view. That was my point of view, and the trouble is, if we're going to talk about rent on grassland, I have to leave the room because I am part of a grazing association. Councillor Hildebrandt has to step out of the room when we talk about cultivated dry land rent. And I would really value his input on that and then maybe step out of the room come vote time. But we've had lawyers and analyze it, because if I stay in for the vote, I can be sanctioned. That's how it works. Yeah. So it's a very fluid thing we're dealing with, but bring your points forward to council. That's what I determined was fair. And if I'm out to lunch, I appreciate bringing it up here, but you can also come to council and say you're out to lunch, bring it back up again. It's not a brick wall. That's the decision we made at the day. I'll stand behind it until somebody tells me otherwise.
So, the lady that represents my area, she wasn't at the meeting to give a view on the rent law area that I'm in.
What do you mean?
Like, you're at the meeting, having a meeting, discuss rental rates. So does she come to discuss our land in our area? I haven't talked to her at all about it. Like, you think you'd come to talk to your constituents, how it's gonna affect you before you just give them a letter in the mail and sit by your phone, because that's what I heard, you sat by your phone. Anybody got any complaints yet? I haven't got any yet. Some people don't pick up their mail for a week or two. Like, you think if you're gonna vote on something, they should come to the people that rent it and maybe discuss it with them a little bit before you just give them a surprise letter in the mail. And the person that represents my area, do you know how bad the land is in rent law that you're?
I don't think I would put it down on one councillor. We have pretty robust.
You're representing my area.
Yeah.
So that's who I gotta talk to. I'm just like, everybody knows that area out there is bad. Like it's got, you can't charge the same as Tabor as in rent law.
See, and we're,
Like, I'll take the Tabor land. You can have the rent law land. I'll give it back to you. Give me Tabor land.
we're
I talked with the guy doing the quotes.
I'm absolutely hearing what you got to say, Marty. But
You guys are a landlord, like you never even confronted us to tell us this was happening. Here's a letter, here's 45 or 50% increase. Like, who does that?
yeah, we'll eat that.
The leases were coming.
Well, we're trying to bring it a little bit into relationship with what the general.
Like, it could have gone 10 or 20% up.
It could have very easily, but
Why wouldn't you do it in October? So we got a chance to talk to you before seeding season. I was on the verge of buying a new drill to go out there from you to me to seed it. Then I get a letter in the mail. I say, well, I can't afford that. I gotta know this letter before I close the deal on it. Like, a more reasonable time would be giving us our notice and a tax time in November, say, hey, this is what we're gonna do with your rent. Instead of, hey, you're about to put your season down, oh, by the way, your rent's going up 50%.
see, and I'm hearing two sides of the story, that we've got half our ratepayers saying farmers aren't paying their fair share, and then we've got the other half saying that we're charging too much. It's somewhere we got to meet in the middle, and like I said before, I encourage you to bring your paperwork in, bring it to council,
25% increase.
bring it back to council.
Bring it back to council. How many phone calls can poor Murray Reynolds take from me? Like, he's not gonna sit and listen to it. I'm bringing it here. So,
I'm hearing you.
yeah, well.
We're taking
what
it.
are you gonna do then? You gonna do anything? Probably not.
I'm not sure.
Pay 20% tax, that's reasonable, that's low.
Exactly.
50% increase in my rent is huge.
Yeah.
I hear the cry out here because, but don't you know it works this way that every year when you start to lease land, you have to bid on it. It's not something that you automatically have.
Not all of it. Some of it's, what do we call it?
Yeah, it's, I can't remember the exact name.
Wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me that, this council here has given you guys freedom to rent public land at
No, we signed a contract forever.
forever?
Not forever, but we sign every 3 years.
Okay, every 3, but they don't increase your rent
Oh, yeah, they do.
before that 3 years is up. Because if they did, that would be breaking a contract, wouldn't it?
It was up for renewal. That's why it came before council. And
Yeah,
that's a
so
decision we
it's
made,
a
right or wrong.
decision.
We're sorry, but
Here's my
that's
question.
the information we had and
Is
I
that
made the decision.
when you go
I eat it.
rent from a private person, same kind of land, the same price that you're complaining what these guys charge you, because you actually, I'm paying high taxes, because you probably don't pay enough for my little 5-acre lot that I pay taxes, more than ever, anywhere in the world.
So I think, I think these actual topics, and I don't want to cut off the feedback. I mean, we're hearing feedback with respect to the MD lands. I think that's the purpose of highlighting those public engagement nights, is to actually get that in even more detail and exclusive to that topic, that feedback. So we have identified those dates tonight with respect to the land management plan engagement in June. And there's a question in the back. I saw a hand over here.
In regards to the land management plan, we hired an outside consultant. Who is that?
That would be Integrity Land as well as Catalyst Communications.
So are we gonna be able to sit down and meet with them to explain the history of these lands, the history of the deals, what's gone on in past, what happened in 16, what happened before that time?
Yeah, do you want to explain kind of the implementation side of the engagement? Right.
Well, I think if you wanted to come in front of council, there is an opportunity before every council meeting to either come as a delegation or just come at 9 o'clock in the morning on any regular scheduled council meeting. That probably might be your best opportunity. It gives everyone the same opportunity that way. As well, at these sessions, you can corner those folks or to either speak to them, or there'll be an opportunity for written comment as well. So yeah, pull them off in the corner and have that discussion, and that'll be captured as part of the entire stakeholder session. So yeah, everyone, we want to hear from everybody. We're not trying to thwart any discussion at all, more the opposite. And we're hearing it tonight, so that's good. Yeah, Mike?
Yeah, I don't know, everybody's looking at the watch line too. I thought we'd be here for an hour, but you guys get paid overtime, I hope. I just wanted to comment on the council. I see a lot of faces here, men and women who are part of businesses, are in business themselves. They understand everything that we're concerned about. We know that. We have a very difficult job. With all the intense cropping that's coming our way, everything grows. It makes it difficult for our sergeant here and the rest of the officers, as well as roads and buildings and all this kind of stuff. I get to travel for the potato industry, one of those guys that don't pay taxes apparently. And this is still the best part of the world to live. We have a fantastic area, this MD and the MD surrounding us. And so sometimes we do have to sit back at the people that are representing us and saying, so what would I do differently? We can't only look at our own personal farms or acreages. We have to kind of, as somebody mentioned, we have to represent everybody. And that's a difficult job, and so I commend you, and, best luck, and these things you're setting up is good, I'm happy to hear that, and so, thank you. Hey, well said.
So I think with that, we'll close. We still will hang around a bit if there's individual conversations you want to have. Reeve, Megan, Egg, do you want to provide any closing comments?
Thank you for coming. Thanks for the questions. Don't hesitate to call your counselor or to use Service Tracker or to call the MD. We often get the text that says, sorry, I don't want to bother you, but this road is brutal. If we don't hear the road is brutal, we can't have someone come and assess if it's a grading issue or if there was another factor. So please continue to communicate with us. Thank you to everyone who took the time to come tonight. There is the 70th anniversary things. So as much as I want to see you at the barbecues, I really hope that you'll engage with us during those public sessions. And if you can't make those sessions, there's going to be online opportunities, or speak with your counselor, or have a direct conversation with the staff that's involved. We demanded, for lack of a better word, as a council to say, it can't just be staff, it can't just be a consultant. We have to hear what the people want. And that's what matters to us, because we live here too, and this is where we've chose to raise our families. So thank you tonight to everyone. Thank you to the staff. Thank you to council. And we know we have a couple of tough meetings coming up with budget to try to get to a decision. So thank you again. There's donuts, coffee, and we'll stick around as long as you want to talk to us.